and it's good to see all your familiar faces and even the ones I don't know very well. First of all, I just want to say that no matter if I was standing here by myself right at this moment, this is a tremendous honor for me to be in this bookstore at this moment talking about a book that I've written. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because I'm a Seattle guy, I'm a North End Seattle guy, and this is my neighborhood right here. I worked about 2 blocks up the street at a tuck shop, taking in laundry and sending out tuxes when I was in high school. I bought all my Led Zeppelin records on the Ave up here, a very special place for me. I got married at the University Presbyterian Church, just another couple of blocks. I used to ride the bus home to Laurelhurst with my great friend Scott Keeney, and I used to hang out here in the University Bookstore. I bought all my books here. So this place, to do this is like coming home for me. This is my neighborhood, and this is my town, and you know, I learned that more than ever when I moved away to, well, first to Fairbanks, Alaska, and my first newspaper boss is right behind all you guys. He just walked in, Kent Sturgis. He also helped facilitate this book. He published it, but he was my first newspaper boss back 35 odd years ago, and he made me feel comfortable, and the guy I replaced in Fairbanks, Alaska is standing right next to him, Craig Smith, formerly of the Seattle Times. So it is a small world, and we have come full circle in a lot of ways here tonight. But that was an adventure. I was young. I was ready to go see the world. I found it out even more that I needed to come back to Seattle when I moved to Atlanta because I left everybody behind. I knew one guy at the Atlanta newspaper, and probably the reason I got hired there, and I had to go there when the PI shut down. And so it was a good alternative to being unemployed, but I missed the heck out of this town. So I'm back. And one of the things I did since the PI closed, I've written 3 books, actually 4, but 3 that have been published in the last 4 years. I resisted doing books for the longest time because I was a sports writer at the Seattle PI, and I thought that job was going to last forever. Unfortunately, it didn't. But while I was there, I wanted to be Royal Brome. And for those of you who don't know him, he was the sports editor, the sports columnist, a sports writer, the managing editor, kind of the face of the Seattle PI. He worked there for 68 years, and he worked there until he was 84 years old. And he worked there until he keeled over in the press box at the Kingdome at halftime of a Seahawks-Broncos game after he ate his last free meal. That was a glorious end. You know, it may sound kind of strange to some of you, but I wanted to do that too. But he got 68 years. I got 30 at the PI, and so I got cut short a little bit, and so I had to figure out, you know, what I was going to do without the PI, and you know, I've continued on in the journalism world and done my thing in the South, and now I work in the digital world, which is just as crazy as I could imagine. I work at MSN.com in Bellevue, but these books, 2 of them are on display, and I've got this one that's been out just a couple of months. They've kind of kept me whole. They've kept me as a sports writer when, you know, it looked like that was gone because, you know, my industry crashed and died besides my newspaper, and it's just something that's in huge transition. So I had to do something not only to support my family, but I needed to do something to keep me kind of happy and kind of connected to what I've done all of my life, and so I've written books, and I'm still writing books. And the first one I wrote was while I was unemployed, and then I wrote 2 in Atlanta, and that brings me to the Brandon Roy story. And again, I decided to do this when the PI went away, and the reason I did is because in my 30 years at the PI, I met hundreds and hundreds of athletes, and none of them impressed me as much as this guy. And it was for a couple of reasons. One, you know, he was super talented, which it was fun to watch. He played a real fun, fan-pleasing, unselfish game, but he was probably the most genuine, sincere athlete that I've met. And I've met Steve Largent, you know, as a classic character, Jamie Moyer of the Mariners, Ken Griffey Jr., if you catch him on a good day, he couldn't be better. You know, on and on. Steve Entman, Hugh McElhenney. But this guy impressed me more than anybody else, and I just told him, I said, I want to do your story, and he said, anything you want. So for a couple of years there, we went back and forth on this, and I would call him. I spent a lot of time with him before I left and went to Atlanta, but I would check in with him from time to time when I was in Atlanta, and he was very gracious to me. He'd be flying into Denver. I'm going to land soon. I'll call you when I get to the hotel. And I went into all his house, his parents' home, his grandparents' home. I went and met all his teachers and his coaches, and one of his coaches, Wayne Floyd, is right here in the white shirt, was his Garfield High School coach. And I got to know everything there is about Brandon, and you know, I told him, I said, you know, I went into this wondering what I was going to find, because when you backtrack somebody's life and go through everything, everybody they know, and just, you know, research it out, invariably you find something that's a little embarrassing, or something that's kind of secretive, and something that you want to hide. And I said, you know, Brandon, I know you hit this kid when you were a sophomore and got a week-long suspension, but I couldn't find any dirt on you. And I said, typically, like I said, when you do that kind of work, you do that, and you either report it and embarrass the person, or you hide it and protect them. And I said, I didn't have to do that for you. You were just a straight arrow, you know, the real deal, the person that you say you are. I said, now if I had to do this kind of deal on somebody else that you know, I'd have to cover up everything. And that made him laugh. Anyways, I write Seattle stories. I've written, like I said, 3 books. I've got another one that's kind of in progress. Well, 2 more, kind of chipping away. I write Seattle stories because I'm a Seattle native, and I want the things that I think are important, especially in the sports world, and not all my books have been on the sports world, but I want things on the record so that when we're all gone, when I'm gone, that people will know what happened back then. And there's too many things that have taken place and they haven't been recorded. I don't know if that's possible now with all of our media and technology, but in another time, some things are slipping away from us, and the memories and the people. So I've taken that upon myself to make that kind of my secondary job from the one that I go to every day, is I want to protect the Seattle stories, and I want to protect our legends, our athletes that are from this town. And so Brandon is one of those, and you know, I think some people have been surprised. They knew he was quote unquote a nice guy and somebody to admire, but when you read this book, you'll find out even more that he's, for a professional athlete, let alone just an adult man, he's a very unique person. I mean, he's married to his high school sweetheart. A lot of people are, but I think if you took the 450 guys that play in the NBA, you might have trouble finding another one that is. He cares a lot about other people, which, you know, really strikes me, that I know he extends himself in many ways to all his family and friends, and even to strangers. But the reason I did this book, and I'm going to bring this kind of to a close now, is he's, no matter what happened, and today's been a tough day for him. I invited him to come, and I now know that we won't see him tonight. He got officially released by the Minnesota Timberwolves, which in a technical manner pretty much ends his career. We all knew it's kind of was on the you know, headed in that direction, but technically it's, you know, he hasn't retired, you know, from himself. He hasn't announced it, but he's cut loose, and his knees are in pretty bad shape. You know, to describe them, they're kind of like brakes that are rubbing on each other, only it hurts too, besides squeaking. But like I said, I've written this book to tell you about him and to give you a greater appreciation of him, because he is somebody special. And he's always going to be known as one of the greatest athletes that have ever been produced in our neighborhoods. And certainly he is, and I don't think anybody can argue this, he is Seattle's greatest homegrown basketball player. He's the only guy that's been an all-star and been the Rookie of the Year in the NBA. There's guys that have won championships and have rings that escaped him, but individually he's done more than anybody has ever done in the city. So, to sum this up somewhat, he is our Gale Sayers, and Gale Sayers was a great NFL player, and both of these men, they were brilliant in what they did, but it was very brief, and there's some more relatives.
Hi, Dan.
Good to see you guys. Brandon was headed to the Hall of Fame until those knees quit on him. He's going to continue to do great things, and you'll hear more about him. I don't know what manner he's talked about coaching or broadcasting. He's hit the pro basketball lottery, I think, as you know, if you've read his contract numbers in the paper, which exceed $100 million. He's got foundations that he supports, and he wants to tell all these kids in Seattle that what he does, you know, who he is and what he believes in, and it's all good stuff. And he encouraged me to get this book out because he wants to put it in the hands of kids. So, anyways, to finalize what I have to say here, I have a book here that will tell you that, you know, he grew up in West Seattle, so he's one of us. He met the impish Nate Robinson in 5th grade, and they would sit there and talk about basketball trading cards and playing in the NBA one day, and just becoming famous. And they were only 10 and 11 years old when they were doing this. And then I'll tell you how he worked on the docks, and he dealt with a learning disorder, and I will give you pretty much an inside look at the NBA, compliments of Brandon Roy. So the story is now, it's on the record, and a lot of people in Seattle, a lot of people in Portland are very interested in him and won't lose sight of him even though his career is over. So we've got him on the record, and we've got his story out there for everyone to enjoy. So at this point, Jim Street wrote a book here that, no, I'm kidding, he did write this book. I would invite any questions from anybody out there in what I've done and what I intend to do. Feel free to quiz me or throw tomatoes or whatever. Craig Smith.
Which book went easier, Pictures of Beer or the Brandon Roy book? Which one was easier to write?
Well,